This, that's not in there.
Oh,
It's not
okay.
added into there either.
It's
Yeah.
not adding in.
Okay.
It's just there.
So you can post that. And that's the number
I
right
think
now.
okay.
687,
Yeah.
okay. So
If
that-
you get the page, just get your big number out.
so that's not the one that's in here.
It's got, yeah, 69100.
You've got the wrong, yeah, 691
Yeah, I know,
002.
but where's, it's not here.
Yeah, it is. On the very bottom.
No, this is, it's, it's 87, 620.
63149.
Yeah, these two together
63149. 624.
should be 687, 620.
Honestly, I don't know. Those two are added, right? I mean, those two are added wrong, right?
What's it picking up?
I don't know.
Because those two numbers added together.
H2. Let's just add a plus sign.
We've got a different number.
Why did you do that?
That's the new one.
That's the new one. So we're looking at
Yeah, that's what it is.
this here.
624.
Right.
But it's
Oh,
not that
624,
on
right?
here.
Should it be 624?
Because of.
No, that's what I'm saying, this was supposed to be the new sheet,
Why
Right.
did we do that?
687.
Oh,
What was it before?
687, 624.
Oops.
624 at the end.
Yeah, yeah,
What I'm looking at.
that's not the right one.
Could be.
Oh, where's? You and I were just working
Maybe the
on
chief's
it.
got that.
Oh, this one, yeah,
Last page, right.
last page.
There's another one?
Yeah, that one right there. Isn't that like the 40?
Oh, 687.
It's 40 off of your number, so your number must have been wrong.
Still pretty close.
It's okay, so I'll plug in the right one.
So, this is the budget sheet, that's the right one?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because those two added together equal up. I don't know.
I'll put a star there so everybody can make that correction.
90,000.
Yeah. I think we went through all the sheets, chief.
Yeah, the chief's coming up with something different, so
Oh,
he's
okay.
trying to balance as we speak.
Okay, I want to go with the ones I've got labeled. Let's get rid of these. Keep throwing the old ones away.
You gotta throw them away, if you don't, you
You
get
you don't know which
confused.
is which?
Just write the date on the top of anything that I give you, then you'll know. when
Yeah,
it's
that's
on.
what I've been doing now. 'Cause I keep getting
Those sheets
confused.
right there, though, those balance worksheets change, the date changes every time I open this.
Oh, does it?
Yep.
Okay.
So you'll be able to follow by that, at least
Yeah.
on that sheet.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because on my own I wrote, there was the, that I wrote from last week.
Yep, yep.
Make sure I had all these the same.
Figure that out, John? No? We can go through it tomorrow, but we can just talk about the obvious that we've discussed, if you want. Still being on yours?
And the 3-day adjustment,
Okay,
so it's not back that on mine, that may show.
okay. We can double check it tomorrow. We can start. You want me to start?
Yeah, I'm not really sure which question, what exact
Okay, so
question.
at our last meeting, I had told you guys that I had talked to the chief and talked about a $40,000 decrease or creating the overtime budget to $40,000. The chief and I discussed that, he was acceptable to that, but he was looking at, he wants to stay with a calculation so that we stay calculated And the calculation comes to 40,
really 45. We're taking, if we say that this year is a zero balance, and the reason we may get to a zero balance is really because we lost an officer and we had their salary to plug into the hole.
I
Right.
don't
So
think
we
they
won't have-
know.
What's that?
I don't think they know what you're talking about.
In
So,
other words, we were, at 60,000 was our overage when I came on, according to the numbers
Oh,
that they gave me.
yeah.
So we projected 120. It's very possible when the numbers come in this year, it's gonna be even instead of.
yeah, they're tracking to basically not go over budget
That's
right
what
now. They're
we-
tracking that way.
We were looking at,
Yeah.
it. that's
Yeah,
the
we
way it was
were.
coming out, yeah,
But
right.
like I had said with the chief, it could be because there was a vacancy in a position since September-ish. So that vacancy's been empty, so the salary hasn't been used, so that could be the savings, so to speak.
Wasn't any overtime to cover that person?
Yeah, oh, there was overtime
Yeah.
all across the board, but
Yeah.
then I came in and plugged the hole by being here physically.
Oh,
Um,
right.
So, you know, we won't have that benefit. I mean, we're gonna send somebody to the academy, for example, in the fall. We're trying to push it out to the fall.
Mhm.
We won't be, we will be paying his salary and we're gonna have
Right.
overtime as a result, so we won't have that benefit that we had this year. Someone simply not being there and us saving the salary, so.
Well, we had that this year, because we had Russell was gone.
Right, but then, right, but we were saving.
There's a lot of like,
Yeah.
and staff
Mhm.
shuffling, so to speak, so.
So the bottom line is that I still want to stay with the formula in the average of the 3 years. So if we're going to call this year a wash,
Mhm.
then we'll just put a zero there. We don't know exactly if that's what it's going to be, but it would be nice. So if we go back and average the previous 3 years of overages, then we're
Mhm.
looking at 45,000, not
That's what
40.
you said. Mhm.
And then that, so coming down from, 80 to 45,000, but it still keeps us in a formula, which I feel more comfortable using the formula
Mhm.
as we go forward. And then if this year is zeros, then we'll have a better, obviously a more favorable formula, for
Drop
next
it
year.
down next
projected.
year, yeah. We can do it.
What was it, 45 even?
I'll give you the number tomorrow, but
Okay.
it's 45 and change.
Okay,
Actually, I might have it right
I
here.
thought you had it on your sheet.
It's 45,995. If you put a 2% increase on that, it's another 919,000. So that's 46.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, when you do your budget sheets, if you could round down or up, yeah, because we don't usually use the cents.
Gotcha.
So that was getting my way.
Mm.
I was trying to balance. Makes it easier.
Yeah, I'll keep that up. The other thing we can do is we can take $3,000 out of the training budget because we hired an officer who's already been to the academy. So we'll save $3,060 there.
3,
$1,060, I think, is what we did per officer to go to the academy.
okay. Savings.
Every little bit helps.
And it really just comes down to, I put in what I consider to be, first of all, the 2% is just trying to stay ahead of the contract negotiation, which it could be a 2% raise, it might be less. And then the basic inflation of 2% on each line item. If you take those out, I would suggest, if you have me take those out, just don't take them out of salary because when we get obligated to the contract when it gets signed,
Oh,
and I can't.
yeah.
But I can take it out of parts and supplies and things like that. It won't be a ton of savings, but, I still have a 2% increase on my side.
Yes, for the contract negotiations that we're in now, however it settles out, you mean?
Right, but we can take them out of the physical things we're buying, but I don't feel comfortable taking them out of the salary until we know exactly
Oh,
what.
right, yeah, I agree with that, yeah, that makes sense.
I don't think it's possible. I just don't see anybody getting a raise of more than 2%. So.
Not in this world today.
Is there any other place that anybody saw cuts that they would, want to suggest?
just for the hell of it, in terms of the RIT guy, does everything he do for you come out of his budget? The
Our IT
the
guy,
IT
our
guy,
IT guy.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, everything
Everything's
comes
out of
in.
his, yeah, everything's out of his budget.
his budget.
Yeah, even computers and everything.
Yeah, so I mean, well, something here says maintenance, but I mean, so is there something you guys have to do in addition to what he does for you?
Well, the things that we do, sometimes we have to buy parts.
Okay,
So suddenly we needed a new mount for a car, for a computer system, and that comes down to about.
oh, okay, all right. Does that work out? We got everything that we needed there, I think.
That's if you guys have any questions for him.
So you were saying you had added 2% in your, like your supplies?
Add 2% across the board to cover inflation. So and Faye had suggested to me to pull the 2% out of everything but salaries, which I haven't, so my number doesn't reflect that, because I haven't met with you really since that time. But that could be a few thousand savings if that's what you want me to do, or play it safe and leave in the cost of the increase.
I would say to do that, and then if we
Do what?
take the 2% off of these.
I think we took the
It
2%
looks like
off
you
of
did it.
everything.
You did,
Did
I
you
did on
already?
my
Yeah,
side.
I did it on, our
You
sheet
did
that
it
we're
already?
looking at already has the 2%
Okay.
gone,
Right.
except,
Right.
I forget what we did with the salaries, but.
Well,
I- no.
But with the salaries, I don't think we projected the 3-day overage. So, because you said that would be calculated at the end of the year anyway, as from another account.
Right, yeah, we
So I
can
had that in there.
transfer, interdepartmental.
So I'm used to putting the 3-day, the overage of however many days you run over.
So you have already taken that 2%.
Yes, our sheets reflect
Yeah,
that.
okay.
Just one question I have is for the non-salary sheet, the police admin budget. The overall budget still shows an increase of 13%. And it seems to fall mainly in your meals, travels, dues, and academy tuition. And I'm just curious why the meals, travels, and dues went up so high? From 300 to about 1,300?
That's on,
It's at the bottom of the first, this sheet, at least
Under
if you're
tuition.
looking at a similar sheet I'm looking at.
The
Under
expense
tuition?
items,
Yeah,
What I'm looking at is
the
this.
long.
And this is the total of that admin thing. So like you said, all of this you pretty much took out your 2%. But then when you got down to the commission, it's still showing a significant jump. That makes that whole admin section a 13% increase.
So what you're looking at here is this jump, well, this was going to, with the idea of 2 people going to the academy, so we've just taken 3,000 out of that. Let's see.
So the dog should be about
Yeah.
3,000.
Right.
Because then you're paying about every year.
Right, so that's what we put in, and then, those travels and dues.
Can you?
The 1299, because the dues, what happened is
I'm
the dues
sorry?
were hidden somewhere else in the budget.
It's taken a
So what we did is we calculated out how much it costs to be a member of all
I'm
of
not
the
sure.
Mass, Western Mass, or Central Mass Chiefs, International Chiefs, New England Chiefs. Now, the extra $50 or so for Nazaro, for Spruce, for Soxford, I actually put a real number there.
Yeah.
Whereas
Okay.
before, you were paying all this money, but
It
it was
just
just
came
being
out of somewhere
taken
else.
somewhere else.
Okay.
I'm just trying to give everybody a real.
That answers that. I was just.
yeah.
Yeah,
perfect.
that was a spring kicker. That always to
That
get.
number staying the same, right, Chief?
You're right. Now it's up front. We know what's going on in Europe.
Right, no, I think
Yeah,
that was
so
home
we talked
run.
about that.
And I have that breakdown.
Yeah, that's fine. Just wanted to make sure.
We just pulled in all of the dues that we're actually paying, and we put them in the right
Mm,
place.
right,
Thank you. Good.
yeah.
George,
What's the
you're-
career incentive?
That's, what's the state, let's see, career incentives are things like.
Quinville?
That's the old
The
Quinn.
Quinn.
No,
No.
college, it's for having degrees.
Oh, okay.
And so more of us have degrees this
Okay.
year than last year.
Now, on that meal travel and dues, you're not sending one to the academy, so is some of that is that he would be using to go to the academy?
Right, that's what we said, the 3,060
Yeah.
backed out, so basically halved it. So you see the 6,000 number?
Yeah, but I'm wondering about the $12.99.
No, that has
Is some of
nothing
that,
to do with it. That
okay.
has nothing to do with it. That
I
is
didn't know if it had,
Professional organizations that we have to pay dues to.
Mm-hmm.
okay.
That's Mass Chiefs, International Association, Central Mass Chiefs, New England Chiefs, and then an $80 to be part of the school resource officer organization. Mass Chiefs is the most expensive, $934.
How's this thing? What do you think? What's that? Any other questions?
As good as we can get it, I'd say.
Towel is run out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll get lucky and, with our part-timers, we'll, our overtime will be better as a result. We have 3 new guys and they seem like they want to work shifts, so
Good.
Great.
maybe we'll get lucky.
Does Amy Reed do a step raise?
I don't recall. No, because she's maxed out.
Right, so
She's maxed out on the
she's
comp
just-
plan.
Right, so she's just a 2%, projected 2%.
Yeah, but that would, she's a non-union employee, correct?
Yeah.
Non-contractual, so
Right.
she's just a regular town employee. So if you give her 2% there.
Well, I don't know what they're gonna give her, right, that's gonna be the selectmen that decide that, right? Is that-
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
hasn't
so
passed, no.
I can check that one and pull that one back out until we make that,
Yeah.
until we make that COLA decision, which
Right.
That's what I'm
I
talking
don't see it, but I'll
about.
pull that back out. That was one that I missed.
Because that, my point would be that all town employees,
Yeah.
non-union, non-contractual,
Yeah,
would get the raise. You can't just give it to one.
I was just
Yeah,
giving a safety number as far as that's concerned.
yeah.
And
I
so
think
that-
when him and I talked, we went back and pulled the 2%, I didn't go back to the, salaries, so I skipped, not thinking, just skipped right past that.
So can we get a copy of this budget that was presented to us tonight with, like on salaries? In the FY17 rate per year, you have it, per hour, but we don't have it for with the request for 18. All it is a lump sum.
It's
That
kind
is
of
the-
part of our negotiation, we're looking at changing that hourly rate scale. Because we had certain situations, as part of the negotiation, one of the things that was brought up is you had a patrolman that was here for 15 years, he might get paid more than the sergeant that just got raised to sergeant. Because of the way the step scale was, you could have someone that was just satisfied to stay a patrolman and be making more than his boss.
Yeah, but they put in the
And so that
longevity.
what we're doing is we are negotiating that, and so that's why he can't give you an exact hourly rate for FY18, because it's being negotiated.
Okay.
Not necessarily, I don't mean to jump in on your chief, I'm
Right,
just,
no, thank you, so we'll know, but we won't know exactly.
And Saborin will not be union?
That's gotta be negotiated with the town attorney, with the town legal council.
What's that, Jim Saborin?
it's on the
pay?
table, the union has to approve it before it can actually be. We can't just determine he's non-union by
Oh.
state law, because we can only have one non-union without the union's approval, and that's the chief. Now, the union can approve a second employee that's non-union, but it has to be approved in the agreement, according to our personnel lawyer. So we can't just say you're a deputy chief and you're not represented, it's gotta be an agreement between us and the union.
So these pays, we really can't go by them.
Well,
They're all up in the air.
Correct,
According to
it's still under
negotiation.
negotiation, so.
right. Well, for him, and so that's we would have been done, but for a couple of trials, I guess, that came up, so running behind as far as that goes and trying to catch up.
Usually works that way.
We have another meeting scheduled this week, so hopefully we can make good strides towards knowing exactly where we plan to land.
I think that date's gonna change, just so you know.
Don't wait till tomorrow to tell me, because I already took the day off of work.
Okay, well, the town administrator can let you know, because he was in discussions, but
I got you, I did not realize I don't have a lot of vacation time, but it's okay. I'll work with Phil, thank you. I appreciate the heads up.
Anything else? Thank you very much, Chief. Oh, excuse me.
When Sergeant Saborna was acting chief, he was making 74,000, is that correct?
Yes, he was making what we gave Eric.
Okay, and now that he's deputy chief, he's still making 74,000?
That is what, when we, as a board, Charlie and I, that's what we had agreed to when we made the decision to bring Chief Carbone in.
Is that a selectman's decision to do that?
It was based on appropriation, so it wasn't something that we assumed was ours, it was gonna have to be that the town agreed.
So,
But that was our intent, and that's the support we have.
I just questioned.
Yeah, I understand your point, and no, you're right, we didn't have the complete authority. We were just trying to say this is what we're recommending and what we believe is good for the department.
Without checking the financial status of the town.
No, we checked it, we realized the difficulty it's gonna be.
It's,
I'm sorry, Mark, what?
You said you checked it, but you didn't realize how bad it was gonna be this year, right?
I just knew it was gonna be another difficult decision, I didn't necessarily wanna, you're right, I couldn't know what I know today.
we're worse than we've been in a long
Worse.
time.
yeah.
Real bad.
And that's a $20,000
Yeah.
increase, correct?
18 and change roughly.
but he's not getting that right now, that's the question.
No, but
Yeah,
We're
what's
down
we don't-
to,
we don't have the money.
$100,000 increase over last year.
Look at the 300,000.
Last year's salaries.
It's a big chunk.
That's a big jump.
Something's gotta be cut. something.
They are police, though. They are protecting us. They deserve to be compensated.
You want the
for
best
it.
people.
No, absolutely. There's no,
But
no
when you're
disagreement with that,
300,000 in the
but
hole,
I know.
when you,
things
I
have
when
to
you
be
come
cut.
up
Somewhere
with,
else than the police and the fire.
Well,
If you look
Stop
at the numbers
looking.
of 34%, that's a pretty good increase per pay.
Oh, I know.
yeah,
it's a bit excessively.
If you didn't ask for a raise, then you got
For the
to.
last
Maybe like
34%.
10.
they've been cut
Yeah.
quite a while.
If I can add, since this is come up,
Good job.
we've, spent the past few years I've been here, before I got here, short shifting our guys. Running one officer at a time. And we can't continue to do that, so with full staff, we go back to having two officers on the shift, as long as nobody retires or anything like that. When we're talking about, our minimum staffing being at 9, our staff is 9 full-time officers.
Mhm.
Putting, if we go back to the situation, we have to do a little bit for our academy guy, but if we somehow try to do another year like we've been doing, where officers are working 12 hours at a time, we're risking significant injury and burnout, and, and then the thing that everybody always talks about, the liability of what if. So really, we just encourage, I know that you say that money is tight, but I just encourage to not send us back to that one officer on the shift. It's a very dangerous situation to.
Well, I don't think we were talking of
No, no.
cutting a position. I think we were
No.
talking about the pay per position. And will this part-timers be able to kick in and help at all with these shift coverages, or?
Yes, I would like that to be the case. We have certain open shifts every week, even with a 9-man staff. And we have 3 that are in training right now. So the idea is that would be great. And we would like to think that we don't have the ability to make them work. So, all of a sudden, you can be in a situation where they want to work and they don't, and we can't force them to. So we're at their
Yep.
pleasure. I'd like to think that's going to happen.
Are these part-time fellows hard to get, Chief?
hard for me to say that because I walked into 3 new part-timers that Deputy Chief Sabourin hired, and he had luck with it. I haven't tried to hire part-timers, so I don't know. I suspect that they're out there. It's a process of getting trained. You know, it can be expensive to get them trained, but I think they're out there.
Can they work on multiple departments? Is there part-time? Oh, they can.
And do you think it would be wise to hire more?
Officers?
Part-timers.
Yes, I do think it would be advantageous. I also think it'd be advantageous to start building the pool of local talent and start really recruiting from within the Quabbin.
Absolutely.
So that, because, you know, we want people that are gonna stay. And, you know, so, and that's something that we've been talking about, getting, you know, maybe a scholarship program to get through the part-time academy so it doesn't impact our budget. But yes, I think we should be shooting at going up to 10 part-timers. And that's not so much a financial impact on the town, it's the only thing we really have to buy them at this point with the gun, the leather that goes with the gun, and a bullet vest. They have to buy the rest of their stuff. And technically, they're responsible for their training, but, you know, the reality is if we really want to recruit some, you know, young men and women from town and get them into part-time positions, we're gonna have to come up with a way to get them into the part-time academy and, you know, plan for down the road. So if somebody leaves, we have somebody who wants to be here and isn't gonna leave for, you know, another agency. So the answer is yes. I think we should be jumping up to 10 from the 6 that we have.
I believe that was a problem that we ran into over the past several years, because we used to have a whole bunch of part-timers.
Right.
And it kept going down and down, and there was no new hires.
Right.
And people retired or moved on, and there was still no new hires. So it came to a point in the last fiscal budget that I worked on, the overtime was crazy. Because we had no part-timers to fill any of them. It was all the full-timers who were working. Well, you know, you've been in there, I'm sure they've talked to you.
Yeah.
Double shifts,
Yeah.
several times a week, and
Yeah.
like you said, unhealthy, probably unsafe, you know? So, and I always thought that I looked at the part-timers, that was one of their big benefits to the town's part, was that they could fill these shifts.
Yes.
And on top of that, they're getting training, and we've had several part-timers that have come up through the ranks.
Right.
Some that you've just promoted yourself that started out, they weren't even police officers. I think Joe Brown started as a dispatch.
The young man that we just hired back full-time was a part-timer for us. He left when there was no position available, and it was back, so yeah, he was a part-timer as well. I believe in this, you're absolutely right. And we need to build that up.
You know, and that is a good pool to build up, like you said, because a lot of them are local. I think Joe Brown was a dispatcher, correct, Kathy?
Bill was,
And
yeah.
then he went to be a part-time police officer. Now look at, I think he's one of our shining stars on our side.
Really?
Yeah, Will too,
Yep.
correct.
Yep.
You know, so, it'll be good, I think, to look into some part-timers. And like you said, it's not a real huge cost to the town
They
to have them aboard.
Right, they buy their own gear, and for the most part. So,
Yep.
if we can get the best through a grant, then we're looking really good.
And the staff that you have full-time, I think, it'd be a great benefit to a young person to come aboard with these fellows in place, because, I think we have a top-notch police department.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And I have always felt that way for the men that work here. Just my comment. So I guess we gotta wait a while till these negotiations get settled out through the union. And then we can, if we need to, come back and revisit this and plug in some more solid numbers so we know exactly where we stand and how that's gonna work.
Good.
Thanks a lot for
Thank you,
coming in.
Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you.
Another sheet that I changed,
Excuse me, you got the changes he talked about in there? Good,
I have them here.
good.
I didn't change
She
them.
doesn't.
No, no,
Yeah.
I'm just saying is you got them written down.
Yep.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
That's the salary policy.
So,
Second sheet?
so another sheet that was changed that I believe I printed out for you was it may be in your packet, is the Board of Selectmen's general insurance. I met with the insurance agent today from Maya, and she gave me our new figures, which we had plugged in a 10% increase, and it came in much lower than that. So that was good news. I think it was like roughly a $3,000 increase, so I did change it on the sheet, and I think I gave you the budget for it. Yeah, I gave you that, but I think I did print the selectmen's budget, maybe? I meant to. Okay, I meant to.
But you changed it on here?
I did change it on there, yep. On that budget master sheet, worksheet, I did change it on there.
That's the gray,
Yeah, it's like
Yep.
lavender gray.
whatever that is.
Yep. Insurance fees. And that's all I have for changes. So it was roughly $20,000.
Did everybody get a copy of Nancy's
Yeah.
letter
Yeah.
that she sent us?
First one?
And
41444.
Everybody get a copy of this letter that Nancy sent us?
Is that last week's?
I had a tough
Yeah,
time
that's the
figuring out
last one that she
what she
sent.
was talking about. Okay, quite frankly.
I think she's trying to indicate to us that if we don't give her what she needs, it could be mandated from the state.
She's saying that, I did talk to her about it, because I told her that we're not gonna give her the 50,000.
Right,
Right now, but possibly,
Right, exactly, and
later.
she said that we
50,000.
have to minimally give her 6,000
oh,
something.
is that what that, I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out what all those
She's
numbers
saying that's
were.
what they're telling her we minimally have to give her.
So that would be on top of her budget at the
It'll be
9,600,
added back in, yeah.
9,600,
You guys-
okay.
That's what you guys wanna do.
Okay,
do we know what the chapter law is that says that?
I don't,
well, she said here, chapter 60, 50B.
Oh, she's got it there?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
The question I got is, how does the system work? It says if the tax title collections from past years are recovered, where do they show up in the books? In other words, when somebody we set a tax rate, send out the bills, okay? And we get some money back, right? That's this year's stuff. Now she collects money from last year. Where does that show up?
it's probably in local receipts.
And
I mean, the question is, where does it show up so we can start seeing
tracking.
what's going on, kind of?
I think it probably comes up in the local receipts.
Think it does that, or it just gets lumped in with this year's cash stuff, of this year's tax
Yeah,
stuff?
I think it goes into
Just
the
in
local receipts
Just the big slush
number.
fund,
Because it's a
okay.
receipt, regardless of
Yeah,
the collection period, it's a receipt
Okay,
for
so-
this year.
okay, so it's really hard to tell the impact of collecting all of this stuff.
Well, in this sheet here, she's indicating $95,023 tax title collected. Now, I don't know if that's this year or,
Forever. Yeah,
Forever,
my point
right.
is, I
exactly.
have a tough time understanding what's going on, especially if it gets all dumped in the same fund, okay?
And her receipts supposedly are lower than they were last year at this time.
Well, so I mean, basically, that would mean people aren't paying this year's taxes.
Or they may not be paying the previous
Correct.
ones either.
Yeah,
Well, on this sheet, I mean, it doesn't indicate that as far as the excise and the penalty and interest is all up. She doesn't have she didn't have a number for the tax collection, but
right.
it's still early in this, this collection period.
Okay,
That's probably why.
I just read the thing over and my head was swimming. I think we all understand that it's gotta be done anyway, so she's happy with the fact it's gonna come in at a later date, Faye? That meets all her criteria.
Well, if she wants it right now,
But
I won't lie. She wants it right now,
Well,
but
it sounds like
But
there's
we
a,
don't have it.
it sounds like there's a lot of money already spent and there's quote lawyers working on it, but we don't hear about what happened. So who hears about what
The
happened?
money's coming in from it.
Huh?
Is it benefiting us?
Well, is anything happening? I
Yeah.
mean, do the lawyer send anybody a report like, we asked 65 people for money, they got nothing? I mean, how do we know?
What do you, I
No.
didn't quite get what you were asking.
It sounds from her sheet that she's already paid money to, I assume, lawyers to do something in the land court. So my question is, do we ever get a report from these guys to find out what is going on?
Progress,
see-
what the progress
To
is.
see if there is
Well,
progress,
you know,
if
let
we're
me
having.
just say one thing, you know, and I
Hmm.
sense some things, but I think I need to point out one thing. Meeting to meeting, we are not spending unbudgeted monies, but there was, in this fiscal year we're in now, there has been a considerable amount of unbudgeted money spent. A lot. And, you know, we went through 2 chief changes and so on. There's
Oh,
100
yeah,
grand
yeah,
right
yeah,
there.
oh, yeah.
Right there with legal fees. That wasn't budgeted. That's $100,000.
Hmm.
Benefit packages and all that other buyouts and all that
You're right,
severance deals. And then we had Heather's, but that, you know, was a little bit different, I guess, but still, that's a pretty good piece of change right there by the time we get done with legal
No
fees.
question.
That's 100 grand. I went through and added it up.
I don't
and
think we paid legal fees, did we?
We've had, you've
We
had
have-
lawyers, we've had this one, we've had that one, we
Our
had
lawyer's on
consultants.
retainer though.
It'll add up, you got 70,000
Doesn't answer
at
the question
least
of
in
lawyers.
severance packages that were not budgeted. Right there,
Right,
70
right.
grand. Then there was these other things, I went through and estimated 100 grand easily by the time you get done. That's 24 cents on our tax
About
rate.
that.
So, you know, I sensed that there was a bar being thrown our way, and I'm quite willing to defend myself. But there's 24 cents, and for nothing, really, when you come down to it. We got nothing out
Chief
of it,
salary.
and, you know,
I mean, but you had to do it, Charlie.
what?
You had to do it,
Well, we had to do it, but at that point, we had to do it.
yeah. Some of that had to be done, you couldn't,
But it wasn't budgeted.
yeah, oh, yeah, no,
I
understand
mean,
that.
you know, you wonder where some of your monies have gone. There's money that went
Yeah.
right there,
Right.
100 grand.
Yeah.
And Heather must have been
Yep.
quite a bit of,
Yeah,
amount.
hers was probably in the same category, but I mean, there weren't legal issues and stuff
Still, it's
associated.
money, doesn't matter what it's
It's
for.
still money,
Yeah,
but there
right.
weren't other extenuating things. I mean, she moved on for a much better opportunity. There wasn't this thing going on around it
Right.
constantly where you have to check with lawyers before you make this move and that move and the other thing because you're worried about it. And when, we may not be out of the woods yet, so we don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, so you're concerned about how we allocate money, you know, we had to deal with that too.
Yeah.
What I'm kind of looking for, Charlie, is to see what our gross receipts are for 17 compared to the gross receipts for
Right.
16.
Right, I understand that.
You
but
know,
I
we
was
know we've
listening to
had a
some
lot
the
of
conversations
excess.
going on, and, you know,
Excess, but I'd like to
stand
know
corrected where it's due.
the gross receipts, how are we?
Right.
That's
Okay.
the number we really need to look at.
And
'Cause, yeah,
before
we
you
did
move on, I
have-
was just curious, what happened up at the school department, and I was more than willing to go to that meeting.
Monday?
What?
You mean Monday?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah, we
meeting
went
you
Monday.
referred to with Maureen.
Yeah, we just sat down with Maureen, and, what's his, Wallen,
Lee,
Lee
Lee.
Wallen was there,
Yep,
and,
Cheryl.
Cheryl.
Cheryl,
Yeah.
yeah. And just kind of talked about a lot of things. The 4%, we plugged in 4% in the sheet to see how things go. Now, this was before the Senate budget. And Maureen did say that they were expecting something to be a little better from that, because apparently they're kind of close to Gobi.
yeah.
So they had some idea there, but a lot's gonna, like you say, now that we have the two numbers, however it determines they're gonna run their other numbers.
Yeah, it'll probably be in the middle, probably between the house, well, yeah, they're not gonna, the House won't let it go up to the Senate. And
Right, yeah, that's what I'm
I mean,
thinking,
it'll be in
but,
the middle when it gets out of
Yeah.
conference, I know that.
so it will make an effect, and I think
Oh, yeah.
it'll make a little effect on how things go. The big issue that we have this time is with the number of students.
Mhm.
The pool is smaller and we have more students. So
Right.
we're getting nailed,
Barry does.
Barry, with respect to those
Right, I
calculations.
understand, yeah.
So that's really the main problem. And that's what upped our piece of the pie.
Mhm.
If we put our piece at 4%, Hubbardston will probably be around 0. Okay, they'll be
Right.
flat line. That's how out of whack this year is, with the other towns are in the middle somewhere. So, I got the feeling that the 4.5% number, which would require them to do about an $87,000 cut. Depending on how the other towns go, they might be able to handle it. The 4% didn't seem good, but she really, it all depends on what the state comes
Okay,
in.
yeah, I-
That's the bottom line, and when that happens, good Lord only knows. So,
I had figured that they would have to cut to accommodate, if we wanted to make up our entire difference of what we're short right now.
Yeah.
200, I figured they would have to cut, just over 700,000 out of their budget to take us into account.
yeah,
Because we pay 43% of the school,
Yeah.
give or take 0.5% or something like that. So, you know, you
Yeah.
take 43% to get 200,000, they'd have to cut
yeah,
about 700.
yeah, it was a lot, and that.
Yeah, it's a lot,
that-
but I think, I don't know if there's some middle ground, better middle ground we can reach, and,
The thing that seemed to me to confuse everything is the way that OCAM is pitching their deal. They're not arguing the school thing, they're fully funding the school, but some of their town operations is going in the override. So what happens there? Throw the darts on the wall and see where they land, because I don't think anybody knows what's gonna happen. So I don't think we're close yet to
I think,
getting the number.
Faye, do we still have that meeting on for Monday?
That's what I was just gonna.
Okay, yeah, there's the regional select boards, and I assume the finance committee must be meeting in Hardwick. I don't know the dynamics of what's gonna come out of that, but I think if we,
Oh, so you're gonna talk with other selectmen?
yeah,
That'll be
I
good.
assume
Within our school
finance.
district,
The
What?
finance
within our
committee.
school district.
Good, that'll be excellent.
Yeah,
I
and
think you
don't
really need to
know. I
find
think
out.
we, you know, if you think about, we've been through this a few times, political, getting the political dynamics of the thing, I suspect that there's gonna be, we might be in a position where we can maneuver around here a little bit, I think, you know, because the heat's gonna come our way not to go along with the budget,
Yeah,
right? If I were in the other towns, that's what I would.
pretty much, I think.
Yeah, and I think we might, you know, we put some thought to this strategically. I don't know, we'll have to go back up and talk to them, I guess.
Yeah. I think your get together will be a good idea.
Yeah,
You know.
we'll make an appointment real soon and get up there.
Our only problem with the voting at the town meeting is that we have so many teachers that live in town that are voting compared to
but
the other towns.
If we could work out the agreement beforehand, then I think we'll see what
Better
happens. You know, I'm still kind of optimistic, we won't get 4%, I don't know. If we can just cut that something.
Yeah.
I think, you know, Maureen's always been pretty flexible with myself personally, so.
I mean, she can do something, I guess.
I think Cheryl, I know quite well, and, you know, Lee, and some of them, maybe we can, you know, stop in and see them someday, and
Yeah.
Dick Allen, and some of these guys.
Good.
I think that, I don't see where else to go, other than the school.
One other suggestion Maureen talked about, and I didn't know if it could be done. When we funded the new police building, we took it out of stabilization. She said another option would have been to put it what do you call that? Not an override, but the other thing.
Debt exclusion.
Debt exclusion.
Debt exclusion.
That really doesn't affect this budget, though. That
No,
money
it
was
doesn't.
taken out of
No,
our
no,
savings account.
and so the question I just thought in my mind that it doesn't seem possible to be able to borrow the money for 4 years, starting with this budget. And we get the money and put it back into the rainy day
Stabilization.
fund, but I don't think you can do that. And then spread that 200,000 over 4 years, not being such a big hit on us as it one, but
Did we vote that money for raising or appropriate, or did we vote that strictly to take from
It's
stabilization?
just to take,
Stabilization.
stabilization.
it's not raise and
Yeah,
appropriate.
You
that's-
can't raise and appropriate after July 1st. You can transfer.
Yeah,
No,
so I
very hard
guess,
to-
I guess
I
that's
would
sort
think
of
appropriate after the fact.
over the hill.
And borrow.
Yeah.
I don't think it would, yeah, I think you could probably do it, but I don't think it would mean you know, you're paying, then you're paying kind of interest on
Yeah.
your own
Yeah.
money.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you think about it, that's not, you know,
yeah.
I could make a rhetorical comment about the management of the funds at the school, but I'm not going to if that's the way they're doing it, but
You do it
that'll be a
quietly.
battle for another day,
You
right?
can do it quietly, Charlie.
I think the point's been made. Gee, Maureen, if that's the way you're doing that's
Was there any news on a free cash estimate?
borrow to pay
Not
myself,
yet.
No, Jean's working on it.
borrow my own money to pay the
And she said if,
bank
she
interest.
may skip doing a warrant
You
next
run
week
the
if she
bank,
has
it's a
to.
good
She
deal.
makes what?
She may skip doing a pay warrant if she
Oh,
has
Went on
to.
both
Okay,
ends.
I'll
What?
talk to her.
Went on both ends.
And there's no news on the legal case from the collector business to see if we're
No,
gonna
and I
get any
don't,
money this
yeah,
year?
they mentioned that to me, and I, really, there isn't much we can do, really, it's a, you know, it's a felony case for
I
one
mean,
thing.
but we don't have a lawyer in this game that we can
No,
even
we don't
ask.
need one
Oh,
right
okay.
The state is our lawyer.
Yeah, the state
Oh.
does, and at some point, we'll probably need a lawyer in terms of making sure we get back.
Can-
But until it's resolved in the courts, this is a felony case. I mean, we,
Can't we get a report on where it's at? I mean, there's hearings coming up or, you know,
well,
whatever. I
I had
mean,
a call a while back, and it's the same status, hearing, you know, they're constantly scheduling hearings and stuff, but I am, you
Yeah.
know,
Think we'll ever get anything out of that?
I have no idea. I have no idea, but, you know,
Well, we should get what she was bonded for.
yeah, bond, yeah, I guess so, but then if they, I don't know what happens if it goes one way and we're bonded, and, you know? But I don't know, I'm very reluctant.
So this year, forget
Oh,
that.
definitely.
There's there's
You
no
know,
golden goose
it's
in
a
this year.
criminal case, and, you know, I, especially, you know, if a town board gets in the middle of it, we could be in, well, ethically, at the very least, but, you know,
Yeah.
we can't doubt, you know, we have to kind of, this water we have to tread on pretty carefully. The only political person I know that gets in trouble was President Obama in Cambridge. What happened? I was a little surprised at that night when I saw that press conference. That's his problem in Cambridge. But I wish I could tell you that it was settled,
Yeah.
you know, I guess the only person to talk to is the DA's office, as
Yeah,
far as I can
no,
tell. I
I'm
don't
not gonna call them up or nothing.
No, the selectmen could call and just ask when the next court date is.
Right.
Is there a court date set? Well,
Right.
that's not.
Interfering, we're not
into it.
interfering by
Right.
asking what's.
Because they told us a long time ago when it all first started that we would receive minimum information. You know, but they could tell you the court date.
Worcester
that's-
County Court?
Excuse me?
Is that at the,
Yes,
the court in Worcester?
I think it's
the new
Superior
courthouse?
Court,
I think so.
right, it's Superior Court, I think.
Is that
I'm
what
not
it is?
sure.
I think it went to Superior Court, because,
I don't know enough legally about which court you land in.
I don't know.
I think it was
Yeah.
Superior Court.
One
You're
of-
interested, the prison's got a 12% increase, I saw that in the paper.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
What's wrong with this picture?
One other thing I had on my
Fund the
list,
schools.
What?
Don't fund the schools then.
I'd rather fund the schools.
Exactly.
Yeah. Crazy.
It might keep people out of prison.
It might, yeah, that's my opinion. I don't understand some of these things.
What was the question?
One question I had was, the sewer enterprise fund. Someone mentioned that there's a public hearing on May 22nd. What goes on?
I don't know, I haven't had notice.
Discussion about the raise in the tax rate.
Yeah, just.
That's just
Apparently,
the
the
price.
sewer commission has already approved it, but they gotta go through a public hearing process to give the town a voice.
Okay,
And I guess they have the right to change their mind if the town is vocal enough. Thus, the public hearing isn't
Okay.
just,
the question I had was, I guess they've been going for a few years, and they're not really an enterprise fund yet. So the question would be, would it be within our jurisdiction to ask them about their expenses?
Well-
We've never discussed,
I caught some of the DPW meeting from last Monday,
yeah,
and I heard conversation about possibly the sewer and water now charging the town buildings.
they're charging what?
Charging the town buildings for use.
the thing that was brought up is apparently we charge them to collect fees for that. So there's an actual
Right,
charge
right.
to them, to the town, to collect their fees, and they're like, they're wondering why we don't charge the town buildings for the use of the water and sewer. That you'll charge us to just collect the check. And the truth is, it's actually an appropriate means of accountability, because it all comes out of the same budget. But I mean, it's, in a way it all does. It doesn't, but it does. But it means each town building is now looking at their bill saying, what are we doing with water? One of the examples they brought up apparently was Felton Field didn't know, but they had a leak. They went through 75,000 gallons of water last year during the drought because nobody knew, because they never got a bill to say, hey, why am I going through so much water? So apparently there was some process where if you're not seeing the bill, you don't realize, you might have a pipe at the far end or something that's leaking underground. And so in other words, there's certain things that by billing each town department or building, you bring awareness and accountability to them being a good steward of that resource.
It seems like a better way to run it as an enterprise business, like a real business then.
I think we might be riding a fine line on that anyway, exactly. Otherwise, we're just kind of saying, you guys just accept us as a free customer. And we don't necessarily have that right, I guess. I mean, if they are enterprise, I don't know if we can tell them, give us your water for free.
Not if they're an enterprise, but since we're paying a bunch of their debt, I think we got
We're
a foot in
only
the
paying
door.
sewer, we're not paying water, so they can
Oh,
shut
I'm
our
sorry,
water
yeah.
off.
Oh, yeah,
and
right.
Rightfully say, we're doing our job. And if that happens, well, now we're not sending them the sewer in the same rate, so I'm not saying, that was the gist of the discussion is all I
Well, I mean,
meant.
I think it's
The other side of that,
appropriate.
though, that I was talking about the meeting is that the people who have water sewer bills in town, which is certainly nowhere near everybody in town, they're picking up the tab for all the town usage. They're picking up the tab
Yes.
solely for the fire hydrants and for everything else. The
Ah,
hydrant expense, the Felton Field expense, and these buildings should be shared amongst the town people completely.
Right.
right,
And that's why I suggested that we should be separating bills for all these buildings.
yeah.
And I think that the bill for Felton Field was a little extreme. I thought he said they had almost a 7 million gallon loss. With a $62,000 water bill down there that was not paid.
7 Seems
Some
like
combination of numbers.
And
they would have
if
had,
if they had some accountability for the meter down there, they pay attention to it.
You're on
Where
target.
you don't lose that kind of water and not notice puddles or something going on.
right.
But that was a specific example. They said the Little League used to use a lot of water, and they asked them to cut back, and they did, and they found not maybe watering everything, but they really cut back the uses and were responsible for it. But it's, it would help all the town departments.
Makes a lot of
Fair.
sense, makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
makes sense.
I mean, they have to wet down the rings. I mean, if you're gonna ride the horses, the rings get dusty, you wanna wet it down. But this is a level you can live with versus a level you need to really do. And if you have an issue or a break, you really gotta pay attention. In your own home, you're not gonna let your pipe break in your basement, ignore it, and pay that water bill. You let your toilet run for a couple of weeks and see what happens to your water bill.
Would that be that hard to rearrange
They're all
there?
metered. They're all metered. They just don't bill.
So it's kind of a billing issue.
Right, so he agreed he could send out mock bills this coming fiscal year, give them mock bills quarterly, so they see what's coming next year. Then we'll have to change.
Then they can
the
actually
ICSO
budget
bill.
for it.
Yeah.
And start
And let the
looking at how it
departments
plays
bill.
out.
Good idea.
But as
a
it
good
is now,
idea.
everything the fire department uses and everything these buildings use, that water portion anyways, gets, split up amongst the payers of the water and sewer bills. And I don't know the percentage in town, but I would guess it's less than half. And they're paying for, it keeps everyone else, so that would help them not raise rates as much.
Why wouldn't the water department have noticed that amount of money, that amount of gallons going
Well,
out?
nobody was reading the meter.
My understanding that.
Yeah, but even if
may
they
have
don't
had
read the
some
meter, they
knowledge
must
of
know
different
how much
things,
water
and it
goes
just-
through the whole place.
should have
They
known.
didn't
Oh,
feel.
yeah, the total.
They
The
read the
total.
wells every day.
I think part of it was they
Yeah.
just didn't feel the subject was something people wanted to address at the time. That's the best answer I got on it.
Yeah.
But don't they
And
have to
I-
report the lost water?
Yes.
Well, we have a lot of lost water for years though, from a lot of bad pipes too, so I don't know how that tied in with that.
Yeah, I don't
They
know.
should
I just
think that they
remember
could
hearing
brought up
that.
the stuff, without losing water like we used to.
Yeah.
We used to lose water.
And one of the
Yeah.
reasons behind this, what they want to proceed forth is because they're in an enterprise account, and then it gives them more accountability of, this is what we're pumping, this is how much it costs us
It
to
allows
pump.
them to better identify exactly their customer usage, but it also puts the end user accountable for what they're using. To the water department side, it really was just, we're giving away free water and nobody talks about it, but then when we talk about we might need a new well, the town's like, well, that's on you. And it's like,
Right.
well, how many years have we been giving you free water, and now you're gonna say,
Right.
that's on you to go get a new well, even though the town may need it as a whole to bring in new business and things like that. There's certain things you have to have for infrastructure, or they just won't come.
Well, that's what that was their big thing when they wanted to go enterprise. You said because they didn't feel their fair shake. So they were gonna go enterprise, and they would, matter of fact, I can remember a gentleman quote, we could put a mile of pipe in tomorrow. But the excuse at that time was that they didn't have a balance of their budget. But another thing, if they're gonna bill the towns for the town's buildings, and if they're an enterprise account, so they should be self-supportive, correct?
So far, they have been for how many years, the water department?
They're pretty,
I don't know.
Pretty
They've-
I think
consistent, it
they're-
sounds like.
they're
No,
close.
they've only been enterprise for not a lot of years.
2 or 3 years?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how
about
many
3
years, but
But an enterprise account, that should be self-supportive, correct? And everybody says they do, they pull their own weight.
water appears to.
Right, that's
Yeah.
what I mean,
Yeah, right.
water, that's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. Well, that's probably really not true, because please tell me the last time the water department bought a backhoe, bought a loader, bought a dump truck, bought materials, gravel, sand, hot top to patch the holes. So, they're gonna charge the town that?
Well, that's
Well,
kind
then,
of,
then the highway should charge them rental for the backhoe,
well,
rental for
that
a
is
dump truck.
part of this whole truly, you're right. Right now, we still have it mixed. We haven't really divided it.
yeah.
So that's one thing that kind of should be on the table as we go through the next year and say, how do we want to work the budget the following
You're
year?
right.
Certain capital investments should be on them, certain should be on us. Now, it depends on who's buying it. Like if highway department's buying the backhoe and the water department uses it, it's still really a town cost. It's not an enterprise cost.
That's the thing, it's all.
And that's where you've got to figure out what machinery is whose. And right now, the DPW commission will say, sewer, water, they all use most of that heavy equipment. It's not really any one department's equipment, so, but there are certain things that are just water, like the pickups. Other than when they pull them in to use them for plowing, and then you're
Yeah.
back. So, but primarily, yes, there is some equipment, I agree, that we can say, this is yours, this is now maintained.
No,
bought, and
I'm not saying all of it, Matt,
No, I
but
agree.
at
I'm with
least
you.
help.
There's a line to draw, and I
You
agree,
know?
there are certain things that should be there.
Because the highway department buys the dump trucks, the highway department buys the loader, the highway department. And it's getting split up like this, but I think it was him that said earlier, you got a pie of money. It's all coming out of the same place pretty much. It's the way it's getting divvied up.
Right, this is really just gonna reallocate budgets, that's all it's gonna do. It's not gonna change our bottom line, but it's gonna, at least get the water sewer enterprise closer to being an enterprise.
But you see what I'm
And
saying,
have an
Greg?
idea of what-
They want us to be accountable, they want the building to be accountable, well, they should be accountable
It's not
too.
gonna change our town funding,
Right,
is the point.
no, it will,
Yeah, I do see
no,
that.
it
Well,
will.
Yes, it will.
it might. If-
It's
if-
gonna raise all these budgets, because if the town
Right.
buildings all of a sudden have to pay for utilities, which we're not paying now, that could be a substantial cost, especially in
Well-
large buildings like this, the library, the senior center, where there's a lot of
They
traffic.
may raise the budgets, but also I think it puts an unfair burden on the people that pay water and sewer to pay all the town's portion as well on their bill and not have it separated from the town. I think it's
But-
responsible.
Say that again?
But that's what supports all the town buildings and municipalities now. So it's really not gonna change anything, it's gonna raise the rates across the board. I mean, it's not gonna be free money coming in, it's gonna cost the same, it's gonna raise the costs for the municipality, the buildings,
Yeah, I mean,
and our taxes are gonna go up for it.
we would have no
Well,
idea
no,
what
what
the
I wanna
cost
do
would
is
be
put a
until we
relief
get
on
the
the
long
Moving
bills.
into the town budget versus just the water enterprise giving away free water or addressing free sewer. What it does is, it puts the cost on the entire town, not just, so it makes the entire town a customer. Versus the other customers paying for the rest of the town that happen to have wells and septic. So like for me, currently, I don't pay a portion of the water bill for the town, because I have my own well and septic. So, until we get, say, Henry Woods Building charged for water and sewer, it doesn't come out of my taxes to pay that. It comes out of the rest of the water and sewer customers. So you're taking a smaller portion of the town to cover the town's administration building costs. It's a minor percentage of the overall building cost, but it's a cost that the water commission believes should be shared with the whole town, because the whole town shares this building.
And all the.
That's the argument. I
All
mean,
the
that's-
businesses in town that you visit are on the water and sewer, so because the town pays some of the water debt or sewer debt, whatever,
Business licenses, things like
it
that.
allows
go
you to
towards
walk
the
into a
whole-
business that may not, I mean, I come from Hubbardston, there's no sewer in Hubbardston, and there's absolutely no business, because you cannot put in a business in town unless you put in $150,000-$250,000 septic system. So it
No
drives
one's-
everybody
No one's
away.
gonna show up in town, and up when Matt's store uses the bathroom in town, they come and use the town's restroom, which is paid for by just the people on water sewer. So that's what we're talking about, sharing toilet flushes and fire hydrant usage and, the Felton Field and, any of our water uses on public grounds.
And the mock billing should really, after a
Yeah.
year, give us a true
Exactly.
idea of what that impact is.
Yes.
You know,
that's a
right
good
now, we
idea.
can imagine all kinds of numbers,
Right.
but it may end up being, it's like a
I don't think it's a large number,
You know,
it just shifts it around.
0.5% effect on building budgets, who knows, because like town hall, how much water and sewer is it really using over a year compared to
Yeah.
the library, which probably has the most water usage of any building that the town runs.
I would say, I bet you the senior
No,
center
cannot.
uses.
Oh,
the most.
you're right, I apologize, senior center,
Not open, yeah.
they're probably very comparable with your other senior
Yeah.
center.
They would have more
But
visitors.
that's not gonna affect this year's budget, we
No.
shouldn't spend too much time on
Right,
it.
exactly.
But it's probably coming for next year's.
I agree with that.
So that was the discussion.
Yeah,
Anybody wants to
good.
know where that came
No,
from?
that's-
what I had
sounds
heard,
good.
that's what I was hearing.
Good, good discussion.
Has anybody asked the sewer to up their, do you know anything?
Well, that's what May 22nd is
75,000 to
about.
100?
Oh,
Oh,
I just-
I don't think so, I think,
Wasn't Jean gonna,
Jean was working on something to see what the numbers really were, to see if they
Yeah.
had it
yeah,
to do that.
Mm.
Mhm.
yeah. Because that would help us.
Yeah.
up in the sewer to what? The-
They give some money
Towards their debt.
Oh,
on the bottom of the sheet, Matt,
I recall now.
for other financing
Yeah.
sources. And they got 75,000 transfer from sewer. And Gene was gonna look at the number and see how maybe we could get some out of that. Now, I don't think you're gonna double it, okay, but
We were looking.
It could be.
She said something about 100,000
yeah,
instead of the 75.
Yeah.
That's not their full debt. town's paying.
No, no.
I recall it's about 75%, right? Not even quite, for the annual debt payment is, what, 100-something thousand?
Yeah, there's a
I don't
couple,
know what it
there's some sewer up on the top, but there's some somewhere else too.
is. Yeah,
In the treasurer's report or somewhere like that, buried all over the place.
now didn't Tony say that we could pay
Mhm.
some of his in the fall?
Yeah,
Yeah, 20.
Did he say how much?
no, we usually cut it down to 75,000,
Yeah, it's in days,
I think.
so if we drop that down to 75,000 for now, just see what the bottom number comes to.
Because we got 98 in the latest sheet.
Yeah,
Which account was that? I didn't-
Veterans.
veterans,
The veterans
Oh.
What do
account,
you wanna do?
second page.
75,000?
yeah. If we drop it down there, we can always put it up if we find money somewhere.
Uh, That brings us to 181,457.
Now, this new sheet you just gave us tonight, Faye,
Yes?
these are with changes kind of noticed compared to our sheet from last week, correct?
Yes. Yeah, they're noted in gray, with the exception I forgot to do the school one, to highlight the school, back to 4.5. What?
Yeah.
I
we're gonna put it
think
up.
we should stick to 4.
I,
You know, and the
just leave it
concern
the
of
way it
saying
is
that
right now.
Hubbardston's gonna
Yeah.
be at 0 increase, well, they're still paying level fund from last year.
Yeah,
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not that they're paying nothing, it's that they're not seeing an increase.
Yeah.
And they're the only ones that can afford the increase right now, so.
I think we still gotta wait, but I think it's getting close.
yeah,
Now that
but
the
if we
Senate
leave it at
budget-
4% now and see
Yeah,
what
we
happens.
could,
What do you
yeah, I
wanna
mean,
do, go
I
back
don't
to
think there's
4?
any,
Yeah. So what would that
Yeah,
number
let's
be?
go back to 4. Five, 331, 513.
That was last week's.
It is, we're gonna go back to that. Yep,
Then I noticed the ambulance went down 20,000 and the fire department
yep,
went
so
up
as I
20,000.
kinda explained to you guys last week when I gave you this, that Rob had submitted a change in his budget last week before the meeting, and I didn't have time to change it in here.
Yeah,
So what I think he did is, cut the full-time, EMT to 3 days a week, 3 tens. Right now he's doing 4 tens, cut it to 3 tens, which would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday shifts. And then have the fire inspector added in full-time, and that fire inspector can act as an EMT Monday through Thursday.
10-hour days.
Yes, so they would be fire
40,
inspector,
so it'd be
EMT,
40 hours.
and the educator.
Now, you selectmen, you
So there's
did
no
the
savings.
you did the contract with the fire chief.
Mhm.
And the fire chief signed his contract, and there's a job description for the fire chief, as in most
Mhm.
positions in town. And the last time we met with him, he said, the big reason for this position was he didn't want to be drawn out of town, because
Right,
he
I
has to get
understand.
certified.
No, I understand fully what you're saying, and I think we,
The job
Yeah.
description of the
we
fire
need to
chief,
have a pretty frank discussion with him on this issue.
it says right in his job description.
Yeah,
What does,
I think we need
What
to.
does what? What do you mean by that?
What does it
what
say?
What does it say
specifically
in
are
the
you
job
saying is in the job description?
Oh, that
Adding the
he,
position.
no, that he is to do the inspections, and he is to do the fire prevention.
Yeah,
Is it that he's to do it or to ensure it's done?
No, it says the fire chief shall.
mhm.
So you hire a person to do the job, and the person takes the money to do the job,
Mhm.
signs a contract, and then down the road says, oh, you know what? I really don't wanna go out of town a couple days to get trained, so I wanna hire another full-time employee to do the inspections, and he's thrown in the pot of covering the EMT.
Mhm.
which will, yeah, that'll be okay. He will cover sometimes, but other times he'll be out doing an inspection. And, you know, when you make an appointment with, real estate brokers or whoever it may be,
Yeah.
you know, I just, to add a new position, you know, in theory, it's a great idea, if you can afford it. I'll say no more, if you can
So
afford
I
it.
think I'm pretty close to agreement with you on that. I think that we will be working on that one. Okay, I don't, you know, if it were into a contract 5-6 years or something, that might be one thing. We haven't gone a year yet. You know.
Right. And I understand, and he's doing a great job from what I gather.
Yeah.
Trying to join these two departments together.
Yeah, yeah, I followed this and it must be one of the things, I followed this in the papers. There's a whole group of towns in this area that are making this same request right around us, I don't know, but I guess I'll leave that for them. But I did notice that, I don't know where this great groundswell started, but I think that we have to hold the line, so, yeah, I agree, and adding something like this right now, just can't do it. It's just as simple as that, we don't have the money.
Looking at the numbers, last year, the FY 2017 actual number for both ambulance and fire came to $605,267. Now, does that include the approved, is that the approved number, or are you saying
Say that
the
again?
numbers to date?
Say that again? Sorry.
The fiscal year 2017 actual column?
Yep,
Is that this is what the town approved? Okay. So that comes to, if you combine fire and ambulance, to $605,267. That was prior to approving a full-time EMT. The current numbers he's presenting is $663,454, a difference of $58,000 in a year
increase.
increase from the approval that didn't include the full-time EMT in the first place,
Correct,
which is costing us what, about 40,000?
roughly.
So he's asking for 18,000 more.
Yeah,
So
but-
he's not asking for a huge difference, I'm just
Well-
saying,
well-
in the two departments, but what he's trying to do is accomplish more with it.
Okay,
Because that fire inspector is supposed to be a second backup. The way it was described to me is if he brings the EMT from the full-time 4-day, 10-hour shift to a 30-hour position, and then he gets a full-time fire inspector that is now 4 10-hour days, 40 hours. He now has 7 10-hour shifts covered by EMT, so he can cover Monday through Sunday with somebody on the clock as an EMT to go with the paramedic that's on the clock. And you get a better coverage through the weekend, which is his hardest time filling. And this is how it was discussed to me. So again, we're getting back to, can the ambulance actually answer the call? And if it can, do we actually get receipts? And so what he's doing is for about 18,000 more, I think I can get you 75,000 more in receipts. And you're saying, don't give him the 18,000.
You're looking at it wrong, Matt, that's why, because you're, one thing, you're not taking in 22%, you're hiring a new employee.
Yeah,
Per diem employee, so there's
Per
no
diem?
extra
who's
benefits.
per diem?
Who's, yeah,
Who would be
not per
per
diem.
No, wait, my bad. The EMT is going to per diem, and the fire inspector is going to full-time.
Yes. The
So
3
you're just
10-hour shifts
replacing
would
your
be
benefits to
per
another
diem.
person. You're not
So, when you
pulling
need
in a
them,
whole bunch of new benefits.
when you need them.
Right.
So you're gonna hire somebody to work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, when we need you.
Well, it could be a matter of a few employees, maybe one is guaranteed to take a Friday shift. Maybe one signs up and takes every Saturday shift. This is how he was explaining,
might have
it's not
6 people
necessarily
covering 3
one
shifts, so they bounce and they
person
fill.
under that budget,
That
it
can-
could be a matter of
that-
5 people.
That confuses
still better
me,
coverage than we
that
have today.
confuses me even more, because Chief Rogowski said that he can't get paramedics to work here because you don't give them enough hours. So now you're taking a full-time EMT that's getting 40 hours and you're cutting them down to 30. And now on top of that, not only, it might even be a different one, so you might only get 10, and you get 10, and you get 10. I don't know.
But here's the thing about
I
the
hear you
EMS
there, but when it
budget.
comes to management of that personnel, I really gotta rely on what he thinks
That's
he can
right.
get.
That's right.
I don't know
agree with
that industry well
One
enough.
hundred percent.
Yeah.
We're not
I'm just
here,
talking numbers at the
we're
moment.
not here to
The
run this
numbers
department.
seem
Right.
The
to
numbers,
pay for
yeah.
themselves,
Well-
that's all I'm saying.
Aside from the numbers, though, the issue really is, there's a job description. And. you
Well, we
gotta
can
be
revise
careful.
that.
I don't have it with me, I have to look it up.
It's a
No, I'm just saying,
contract.
if
You
we
have to
agree
open
with
up
this,
contract
we can look at what
negotiation.
you're saying.
Yeah.
He's saying that job description is asking a lot of one individual,
Yeah.
and one individual can't do it all. So he's trying to say, if I can't do it all
Correctly,
correctly, because we've already discussed the history of trying to get your commercial
Right.
inspections done.
Right.
And the difficulty of doing that with everything else he does when
It's
it
not
comes to
happening.
facilities maintenance, vehicle maintenance, certifications, and then actually doing, like, putting out fires. And then being another EMT to pull and jump into an ambulance once in a while. He can get stretched thin. And what he's saying is, I probably can make the town more money than I'm asking. And I can actually get better coverage and do more for the town with this. So we'll serve the town better. You put a little bit more in, but you'll get more back. And this is just his argument. I'm just stating, this is how it was presented to me. If you put in 20,000, you'll probably get about another, well, let's say 50,000, just to be really conservative, back in revenue from what you spent last year. And I'll have a guy that can do all these other things that I haven't had. And that's all I'm saying is he's putting on the table. And for me, that's a hard one to just say no to. Because it looks like the revenues will pay for what he's asking.
Well,
Not
what looks
until the
and what
following year,
happens.
though.
Right,
Well, it's
one
projection.
thing I wanna,
We
one
won't
thing
get
to
it.
bring up
No,
is,
that's
That's
not
not
quite
true.
accurate. That's not quite accurate, that it
What's-
doesn't make it till the following year.
It won't flow through.
It's just whatever's left, we push to the next
most
year. But if it's-
likely, yeah.
And we
if
don't
receive
have
this
it
year,
right
we'll use
now.
it this year.
Right, so
But if
one
we don't
thing,
give it to him, then we'll never get it, because we'll never get that revenue, because he'll never have enough coverage, and he'll keep losing
If we
calls to the
Another-
modify
other
that, we have to
ambulances.
strike our anticipated
and
receipts. as well.
Stephanie, you've
Yeah.
only been on for a year.
Don't talk down to me like that, please.
I want to
I can voice my
explain something
opinion,
to you.
no, I can voice my opinion
Go
just as
ahead.
much as anybody else can, okay? And I'm saying, we are not fire chiefs, we are not him. We don't know how to run his department, we can't tell him how to run his department. He's the only one who knows how to effectively run his department and still provide the coverage needed to protect the town of Barry.
I think one thing I wanted to add
And
is the,
it's not fair of us to say, no, you can't have this. If he's gonna bring in $75,000 extra in revenues
well,
projected,
yeah.
then, well,
And he said that was conservative.
that's-
He
that's
expects more,
covering-
but he's trying to be,
his difference.
So one thing to keep in mind is, the interesting fact of this is, we absorbed a 40-something thousand dollar employee in last year's budget unanticipated. That's interesting. It was
Yeah.
interesting to him too, because nobody can tell us how the budget was made,
How much did they spend on the stipends for the EMTs?
a lot. And he's,
That wasn't budgeted
that's,
for.
that was not, planned for either, the stipends.
Yeah.
That,
how
so
many
that,
shifts did we not actually cover?
Well,
I mean,
it's
there's a
really-
lot of questions is all I
It's
mean.
apples and oranges, we're talking about having a budget that we can manage and look at, and what you're talking about is just as valid in coverage and everything else, but they're really two different topics. One is strictly cash flow.
Yeah.
We either got it or
Better
we don't.
balance.
And one is, boy, it's really nice. I'd love to have another, bring them on, me too. But it's more these additions, like the 40 grand, and there was more there as well, that hit the budget without any planning. It has to be planned.
Well, this is the first time we've had someone come to the table for both departments with a plan.
Just,
And he's presenting a plan saying, this is how we resolve the issue, and we're trying to tell him to do it with less, that won't bring back the return. And I'm not disagreeing, but what I'm saying is, it's difficult if you get lost in the
yes,
only what do we spend side versus what we get back.
yes.
And the biggest thing he's been mentioning, and a lot of people in town have said, is the missed ambulance calls are something we just can't cover, and a lot of it happens on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I don't know, that would pay for coverage when we can't provide it.
Right,
also.
so it happens all the time.
So, right, so that whole, and so he's saying,
Paying for it somewhere else in that case.
I only need like 40 extra calls a year and I cover this 20,000. It's
a
kind of
lot.
what he's saying, making an average of $500 a call. And
I
you
would
said,
be
and you know that's a low
astounded
based
if
on the
it
numbers
doesn't
he's talked. It could be anywhere from 3 to, I think the minimum he said Medicare is like $300 a call. And then if it's a paramedic, it goes up to 1,200 or something. So the balance, I'm saying, if you just average it 500 a call, and he gets 40 more calls a year that we take, he paid for that position.
Well, I think there's a lot of estimated. We can estimate that we'll have higher revenues as long as we can estimate that we'll have employees that will take shifts. We can estimate that, it's a
Could
lot
also
of.
estimate
Well, every
that we
employee that
lose
doesn't
all
take a
that
shift
money.
also.
Right, it's a
ones we're not
gamble, you
paying.
know what I mean? It's an
Right.
unknown.
If the
But see,
employee
that
doesn't take
confuses
the
me
shift,
even
the
more,
expense is
because
not
I
there.
brought this up before,
Correct.
that we
If
still
they do
didn't have
take a shift,
coverage.
I believe it
And
will
Mr.
pay.
Rogowski said,
No, the
we don't
expense
pay
is not,
Hubbardston, we
there
don't
is an
pay
expense
Oak
there.
I know,
So there's no cost to the town when they come
There's a
here.
lost
So-
revenue and
When
an
I ran
expense.
this
No,
all
it's
Double
not.
whammy.
we already
But
have.
it's lost revenue.
Lost revenue, you're
We
gonna
already
do
have
that to
the,
every department?
ALS side of that.
Oh my
I'm
God.
not saying
The
yes
medic
or
side of
no,
that
I'm
is
just saying,
there.
that's what it is.
We
Well-
want to make sure we don't miss anything.
Right.
I think
It's-
maybe the compromise here is, I do believe, I can't recall verbatim what's in the contract about this, but there is language. I don't have it with me. I thought I had it with me, but maybe give us two options and rework the numbers. I mean, if you're gonna have something that increases expense with the idea you're getting more back, it's gonna have to be reflected in the budget, because if you're increasing here, it's just apples and apples. We can ask them to rework the budget if we're gonna, so at least we have an option.
I'm just very confused, Todd, because I've been told so many different scenarios that's gonna happen in the last 4 months.
And
Mhm.
there's been that many too.
Yeah.
Bring up
It's true.
Yeah,
the
I understand.
the mutual aid calls. Well, we don't lose any money on mutual aid because they don't charge.
Yeah,
So now, just right now,
I
now
understand,
they're
but if
saying
he's
mutual
asking,
aid.
then he's gotta show how, it's not just say, well, we're gonna increase its expense. We can't increase
Tell you, I
it.
don't think it's a bad idea, but I'll
I'm
tell you
not
right now,
arguing. I'm
I
not-
think it's a damn bad time to do
I'm
it.
not, let's
That's the
just
tough
back
part.
back up. I'm not
200
arguing with
grand in
you.
the hole.
Actually, I agree with you, but if you're gonna, he's coming in and saying we're gonna increase an expense, then you gotta also put it in the budget, well, then we're gonna increase revenue on the other side. We just can't take 40 grand or whatever it is and just say, oh, we'll put it in without showing that there's a benefit. If
So
he-
that's similar to what Nancy's asking.
What?
That's similar to what Nancy's asking, right? She
He
wants
says he's laid out a
50,000.
much more detailed,
Well, I think,
And
Estimate
that
on
revenue should
revenue.
come back within the fiscal year.
But I
We don't
would
know
like-
when Nancy's money
it's easier for
comes
him.
back.
My
Well,
preference
we don't know
would
what
be,
the insurance too is
I'm not
delayed
the
a
fire
lot
chief.
too.
We know what he's collected ratios.
I have trouble
wise,
following all
he's
these
based-
hours
he's
for this
based it
guy.
on real numbers.
Let's ask him to rework those numbers. If he's gonna be making us money or sick quotes, quote making, I don't think we ever really make money doing much, but, or saving, then if there's an increase, how are we gonna, where is it gonna show up in this budget? And that'll do two things. Then we have two clear options. If we decide to leave it this way, at least if something comes up on the town meeting floor, we can't control that. Somebody could stand up and make a motion anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so at least if it came up, we would have an answer to fall back on. Yeah,
I think there's take this budget sheet and all the lines that are applicable. We need the two options. Without hiring a guy and with it, making sure we got the expenses and the revenues put in.
Right.
Get the two things on the table and have the chief explain
That-
how it'll work.
that's what I'm saying.
Where the
Nobody,
revenue difference comes from and his anticipated is important, and that's what he.
Absolutely, oh
yeah,
yeah. that's-
nobody's
If it
wrong
doesn't
here. Everybody's
jive, then
correct
we
as
don't
far as
do it.
I can see.
Because I mean, you look at the rest of this budget, there's as much question marks in every single line we got
Yeah, you
as
got
we got in
19
this
one, I
one.
think we can question. I don't
So, I
have
mean,
as much knowledge on that
no,
subject.
so I'm thinking that the two scenarios,
I think we need
would be
Kathy's
good.
grandson to come in. We need our film recorder.
Is the fire chief required to work 40 hours? I never saw his contract.
In any 1 week, I don't think, it's a professional contract, he's under contract,
Yes.
and
He's
He,
just
uh,
required to perform the duties as necessary.
That's
It's
it,
not an
yeah.
hourly
If
thing.
he has a week where he works 80 hours, he works 80 hours. If he has a week where he only has to work 30, he works, whatever.
Would it be fair to assume that he probably averages 40 hours a week?
I would guess easily.
At least.
Yeah, yeah, I would say so.
At least.
So that's 5 days a week. So now, actually, we have 2 full-time EMTs, and now we're gonna hire a third. Because we got a full-time EMT now. Bobby is an EMT, and he should be working 4 or 5 days
He
a week.
works in another
no?
town.
What's that?
He works in another town. He just fills in. He just takes shifts as they open. He's a full-timer in Spencer. Bob Paradise? Is that what you meant?
Bob
Or you meant
Rogowski.
Rogowski?
Yeah,
Okay, I misunderstood who you were referring
he's
to.
an
when you said
EMT, and he's full-time.
Mhm.
And so we have roughly 40 hours a week, she's saying more. So then you got the full-time EMT, so that's 40 hours a week.
Mhm.
So there's 2 full-time EMTs. Now we're gonna hire a third one, because this one will change the shifts around a little bit, but then we'll have 7 days a week coverage. See what I'm saying?
You don't really have.
We're getting
into his
40-hour
boss.
EMT,
Let out of his
though.
department again,
That's
and
the
I
point
don't
is,
know.
Bob's job is
Does
a
he
fire
do
chief,
anything
not
else?
EMT,
Choose one.
though.
you assume
We're
he's
not gonna lay out
in.
his-
Right, and this
So-
inspector's job is
We
inspector,
shouldn't be
not
waiting on his
EMT. The same
But
thing.
he's
We
saying
should
it would be
lay out Bob's
both,
schedule.
though.
He can give us
And
a-
Bobby's supposed to be both, that's why that
No,
EMT was
is
put
it
into the
possible-
fire
I
chief.
can't,
Now, nothing-
Nobody
I'm getting
can
too
hear.
old, I can't hear it.
Yeah, okay, I had enough. I can see where this is
Tell
going.
getting old.
It's
going
Exactly right.
Could the fire
Put it through,
inspector
try to
possibly
pay it, you know, go
go
proposition,
like the
2.5
wiring,
It's not like we
override.
can say
plumbing
anything
and
anyways,
that,
it's the town that
just
makes all
have
the
somebody
decisions.
that
Well, we
does
may have to
that?
make
I
a
don't know.
recommendation,
Right,
unfortunately.
we can only say.
Just like the plumbing?
Like a stipend position?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then they
Probably
get so much for
I think we
each.
ought to just lay the 2 options out on the table, one of them is
They
better
get
than the other.
you know, because they get a
And
percentage.
it depends on the other numbers, which one we pick.
That's how I see it.
And I think we also need to take a look at the contract, and if we wind up having to stay with the status quo, we've got the contract all. Nobody's really wrong here, nobody's. I think I think we're all in agreement. We just look at the numbers, you're either better off or you're not.
That's what you're gonna do, I think.
Right.
Trying to
I
balance.
think we need them here
Hopefully
to
the
talk.
way it answers itself.
So I think we
Yeah,
definitely
that's
need
the
to
way
sit
I
down
would
with
say.
it.
I think we need to take a look at it, even though we just talked about this the other night.
Yeah,
The
I
IT.
don't know what they're all about.
I don't know.
The $80,000.
The subject matter, I can't tell you,
But if you had them like a plumbing or electric.
yeah, I know what you're saying.
You know, they get the stipend and then they get so much from the fee that's charged for the inspection. You don't have any benefits for the person, they just, and it's that revolving account.
Yeah, the only thing I would comment on that is I don't think he was looking for solely just an inspector. He was looking to have the fire, what do you call that, at the school brought back.
Training.
The school, yeah, for the kids, that's huge, you know, that's really important to this community, it's been gone for many years.
Yeah.
So I think that was part of that too, it wasn't just the inspection, but maybe, you know, like you said, maybe that's something he can look at, if that is
Yeah.
an important facet of, you know, something he's looking at, I don't know.
Yeah, he feels strong about that.
It
feels-
seems like he feels
he's
very strong about
the
it.
inspector too.
Yep,
But unfortunately, Faye, he feels strong that that should be done, but not by him.
right,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
I think we gotta move on
I
from
think
that
we need to find out
subject.
if there's a net gain.
Could have a regional
Is there anything else,
You're
Dave?
never gonna prove a net gain till you do it.
What?
No?
You'll never let it approve it till you do it.
Well, no, but he should be
You know,
able.
he could tell you, and I could tell you, yeah, next week, Charlie, I'm gonna make 10
Well, I
grand,
was-
I'm going to casino.
We work, I understand, I don't think it's quite, I hope it's not the level of risk is that, but I think, you know, they should be able, if you incur an expense of that magnitude, then there should be a way to show financially how we're better off with that.
You guys don't, I just don't understand the confusion
I
that I'm
understand very
facing.
well, Rich.
No, I'm
We're
not
seeing
saying
I'm
a
that,
in
I'm
my,
not.
I'm in my
$1,000 plus
sixth term
these
on the
people
board,
expense
I
of
worked
1
at the
year.
State
I'm
House,
concerned
9 years on the
with
school.
You didn't let me
I
finish
make
before
a,
you
uh,
jump on me, Charlie?
Can I make a motion?
Charlie, will you let me finish before you jump on my case, what you do every time I talk? I was just gonna make the statement that I'm very confused because every time we've discussed these budgets, things change. We're gonna have this coverage, gonna have that coverage. Everything that's gone on since I've been on this committee. You give me the money now for the fire truck, we're gonna take the fire truck off. I just saw a copy of the thing, you got an article on there for a fire truck? What happened to that? That shouldn't be on there.
Well,
You're gonna buy
this is,
3
uh,
fire
it's for an
trucks in a
engine.
year?
This is,
Their engine's falling apart.
So you're gonna buy 3 fire trucks in a year. This is not Lexington. This is Barry.
so this is just a draft. No
Yeah.
vote, it has been discussed to strike articles at this point, just so you know.
Yeah, well,
Richie, and I haven't jumped, I just agreed with you on the fire chief.
no, but I know whenever I speak up though, Charlie, it kinda seems that I get jumped on.
Well, you jumped on some of us over the years pretty hard.
This is where you're coming.
And by the way, this is my 27th budget, okay, between schools and this. I have a pretty good idea of how it works.
Yeah.
And if the finagling around behind the scenes with people has to be done, I think I'm gonna try to do it to make it balanced.
Perfect.
Good.
I look
And you
forward-
can't ask, I am very fervent on when we pass a budget, I expect the departments to live by it.
Perfect. I
And
hope
you
we can
can't,
accomplish that goal.
unless there's gotta be a pretty damn good reason if they don't. I think we can understand certain things, but that's why I wanna make sure we're going in with something that we can balance. But I don't like to see the challenging back and forth, and I feel challenged when I come in here. So,
So do I.
I really do. And it hasn't been from you, but, I try very hard to come up. I have spoken personally with these department heads in the interim, a pretty good idea. And, the fire chief one, I have some mixed emotions on that, but I'm willing, let's see what he could come up with numbers. Either you're better off or you're not. And if you're not, then don't do it. This isn't very complicated. And to some degree, I think you are right, we have a contract. I can't recall the specific, I don't have it with me, but I can, I understand. And it wasn't like this contract was signed 4 years ago, it was signed 10 months ago. So I understand that part. And, I'm just trying to, that's all I want to do.
That's what I'm doing, Charlie.
What?
That's what I'm doing too, trying.
Yeah, and I've tried to come up with some alternatives at meetings. I really,
That's what I'm doing right now.
yes,
I appreciate your help.
yeah, but I just don't appreciate the insinuation of my colleagues here. And I've never seen that at a finance meeting before in all my years, so,
What do you mean insinuating?
well, just now, but I
No, I
think we.
just said I wanted to explain to why I was
No,
confused.
I think, we'll just leave it at that, okay? Just leave it, and,
Yep, perfect, okay, done.
yeah, I don't wanna
Next
bring up
up, he said he's
anymore. I
done.
wanna be done.
Kathy?
I just want to say that, that's the purpose of these meetings, is for the selectmen and the finance board to sit down and discuss what's going on for the finances of this town. No one should leave here with an attitude, no one should leave here feeling that someone's trying to stick it up someone's butt. This is what the meeting's for. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and when you walk out this door, everyone's on the same level. No one's trying to,
I think it comes down to there's some hard decisions to be made.
absolutely.
There's some hard decisions to be made, and, everybody may have their own opinion on each budget, but it comes down to, I sent a schedule out to the selectmen just so everybody's on the same page. We have approximately 4 working weeks
Yeah.
to
So
get
the
this
town
That
balanced.
was my
And
question.
actually, as a percentage of the budget, 200 grand is not
Decisions
that
need to really
big a
start being
chunk,
made. We
really.
can't, I'm doing the best that I can working on this budget, but decisions truly need to start being made on budgets. And it's,
It's only so much you can do, I mean.
well, I mean, it's not, I can't make any of these
Right,
decisions.
right.
I can show you what I come up with,
What you get, yeah.
and I can't make any decisions.
No.
I appreciate the cooperation so far on, what I've brought forward. But again, this is, first, it's outside of my job description, first of all.
Yeah.
Make that clear.
What?
But I think you guys really need to look at these budgets, get your red pens out, start making some decisions. I think at the next meeting, I'm gonna ask that everybody kind of come in with their red pen edits. I've red penned as much as I can red pen out of this myself, without truly affecting, you know, budgets. And I did have a comment from somebody that's an employee asking if budgets are all gonna be treated equally. You know, if one department asked for an extra person and this department asked for an extra person, was it gonna be an equal cut? And I told her, I don't think that's how it's going to be. That I think it's going to be a department by department case.
That's what I
Because
think
that's
too.
how I felt that you guys, the discussions from this table
Yeah.
have led. So,
I think the other thing is, we're gonna have to just keep pressing on the stuff that's unknown, to fill in some of the blanks.
yeah, they're starting to trickle in.
Yeah.
This is the time that they really start trickling
Yeah.
in. You know, like we got the health insurance, not the health insurance, I'm sorry, the town's insurance in, so, you know, numbers are becoming real numbers now. And a lot of these yellow marks. But,
Now, is the health insurance a definite?
I believe she said it was. Well,
Because sometimes that one is,
open enrollment, April and May, should be then, by now, should be done,
Yeah.
because I think it was April, May is what she told us, that
check
that's
and
the
make
enrollment.
sure.
Yep.
Yes, because that one's one that is a late.
It may have just ended on the 15th. May
Here?
15th.
I don't know.
I don't, typically, I think. No, that's when it ended, I think.
Okay,
Anything else?
so the only thing is, I'll tell you quick, this is just a draft, it's still being edited. Some things are missing, some things are in there that may come out wording wise, so this is just a draft. Town council's reviewing it right now. I put it together, even today I added an article, Jean had me, we had put in the article, or I had added the article in for the cable access and the revolving fund, but it needed a subsequent article to fund, so it's telling you to turn it into a bylaw, but you need to still fund it, so I added that in. So just a couple things. The selectmen's next move, typically how this works is they'll have to go in and vote on the articles, and then you guys will have to also, not vote on accepting them or not accepting them. They accept them, and then you guys,
Recommendation.
recommendations, but we'll get that later. So right now, schedule-wise, I had said to you, we have about 4 weeks, so town meeting's on the 20th, we have to have the meeting posted 7 days prior, which means on June 5th, I anticipate the select board voting on the warrant, to sign the warrant that night, which means it would go in the paper, on the 8th, in the Barry Gazette. And the public hearing should be held either on the 7th or the 14th at the senior center. And then, I don't think there was any other dates. I don't think so. So I would hope that, within the next 2 weeks, we have this wrapped up.
So next week, we'd like to have the fire chief come in, go
Sure.
over those 2 options. Anything else we ought to have in?
We've got a couple of the articles for highway equipment. I had spoken with Jason about tomorrow, I don't know if he's done it yet, but apparently the district highway guy in Northampton, director, said that they didn't wanna allow chapter 90 monies used for a roadside mower, which is kinda neat to me. I told him that we gotta get in touch with our state representative and senator. I mean, this seems like a pretty arbitrary decision. And that would hold for the others, 2 pieces, I think, what was there, a skid steer and something else on that. Sweeper. And that, you know, that we need to find that out. If they're not, you know, I don't think it's necessarily the district highway director's job to interpret the law as he sees fit. You know, and that seemed to me to be what it was. And, you know, I know that chapter 90 isn't gonna be allowed for all of it, but I think to say they're not gonna use any of it, I don't really understand the logic for that when they allowed it for some other towns. I mean, you know, and it's like, well, wait a minute here, you know, if you did it for them, you should do it for us, and that's what
Brian, do you have those minutes?
kinda irritating to me, actually.
All them, pieces of equipment Charlie wants to pay for, all of that, what chapter 90, or
I think
just,
it's in the packet.
They're probably, I don't know if we could do that, 'cause-
no, I'm just asking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Thank you.
Oh,
I don't know, but they should be, don't you think? They should pay for some of it, I would think.
no, I know they have to approve it, they have to approve your projects too.
Well, I know they have to approve it, but they didn't approve it, and they approved it for some places.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and, you know, I hadn't read that there was any change that would say they can't approve it. I haven't seen that, so it
I don't
seemed to
know.
me to be pretty arbitrary. You know, why can't we do this when we could do this last year? I didn't see any changes in the law, right?
No, I don't know.
I don't know, I followed things I didn't see any change, you know, so I think we need to call, you know, our senator and representative and ask him to get in touch with Mass Highway and find out what the heck is done.
There you go.
What?
I said, there you go.
Well, I don't know what the other option is, sit at his desk in Northampton and browbeat him, but I don't feel like going down there to do that, but been done.
Now, weren't they gonna also try to see if New Braintree could pay us more than the 10,000?
That's not
Or
gonna
was
happen
that-
this year.
That'd be maybe next
It
year?
would have to be an amendment to the, agreement,
Okay.
so that would not happen this year.
But I understand the data for that presentation he's taken. The chief
Yeah.
is counting whatever.
Yeah, he
So-
started like mid-year, so
Right.
by next year, we
So
should
we'd
be
know
better,
next
we should
year.
have better numbers for that next year.
And then is that transfer from Holden Hospital, is that a definite number?
No,
So we don't know
no,
whether
we
it's
know
more
what
or
we get
less?
every year, so we kind of based it off of that.
Okay.
But that's not taking all of it either.
Yeah, just numbers that would affect the end.
Yep,
Yeah. Anything else?
I got nothing.
Negative.
Motion adjourned?
The warrant's showing the snow overrun, but I didn't know where to find it on here.
At the bottom,
Snow and ice stuff.
snow and ice deficit?
Under the other, okay, snow and ice removal.
Say that again?
Yeah,
130,000.
Yes, snow and ice
Good.
removal. Mhm.
Okay. Thank you.
and is that actually what it is?
Yeah, yes.
I hear a second.
I did second.
Oh,
It was quiet.
thank you.
Thank you, everybody,
Yeah,
I'm
thank
sorry
you.
I didn't mean to.
No problem. I got broad shoulders.
Yeah, we all, I'm sorry, I didn't, that's not the way I agree.
Perfect.
So if everybody could really just look at the budgets,
For
I
next
know I
week.
keep saying this, but